just wanted to take a minute and cover the topic of nutritional periodization. And this topic is super important for a lot of reasons, but the reason it really became talked about a lot, and the reason I've been getting a lot of questions about it, is coming down to how can we optimize both performance and cosmetics relative to nutritional prescription in the CrossFit space. I've never been shy to say that anybody that's going to try to be a high-level CrossFit competitor has to kind of take cosmetics and throw them out the window. And anybody that wants to be a cover model should not necessarily be planning on getting on the podium at the CrossFit Games anytime soon. And of course, everybody wants that happy medium and that balance, and I completely understand that. And so my goal, and when I kind of set out and created this periodized model, was, well, how can I provide the best of both worlds? And it comes down to understanding training and nutrition at different times of the year. So in a periodized model of training, you have times when you're focused on maximal performance, recovery, increasing power output, skill acquisition, and then ramping up for your next potential season. What I've figured out, if we plan your nutrition accordingly, there's periods within there where you can actually take advantage of a body composition emphasis as well as a performance emphasis. So will you be that ripped cover model standing on the podium this year? No. But if you apply the periodized principles year in, year out, every single year, perhaps in 2 to 3 years, you'll have that physique that you're after while standing on a podium. Maybe not at the games, but at your local throwdown, perhaps at regionals, but somewhere more important. So I'll give you a quick rundown as to what that periodized model looks like, and you can implement yourself. So basically, what I've broken down is 4 phases. You've got competition phase, you've got post-competition phase, you've got strength and skill acquisition, and you've got pre-competition phase. So obviously in the competition phase, our whole goal is to simply fuel and do whatever is necessary to get you where you need to be. And that's probably in a CrossFit setting going to involve a lot of carbohydrate. And sometimes excess carbohydrate is not ideal for body composition. So we just kind of have to work with that and understand it. And, again, it's literally, what is your WOD time? It has nothing to do with how you look. You're not getting scored from your performance, on how your abs look. Right? Your performance is your time relative to everybody else's time, or your load lifted relative to everyone else's load lifted. So we got to fuel that maximally. Now, coming out of that is a period of recovery, and this is where a lot of people go wrong. So a lot of people come out of the open, right, our CrossFit or our kind of competition time, and they come out of that and they're thinking, okay, great, like the open's over, now I'm going to get really, really ripped. The problem is most people aren't fueling adequately through the open. So coming out of a phase where you're under-fueled, then going into a period where we know that getting leaner and requires a calorie deficit. So now you're going from under-fueled to more of a deficit. You're not creating any kind of recovery. So from a hormone perspective, you're setting yourself up for a shit show next year, right? There's no way that you're ever going to be playing with a full level of hormones or any sort of adequate level of intake or intensity heading into the next year of training. So maybe you're going to get worse next year, and you're probably not even going to achieve your cosmetic goals because your hormones aren't working properly. So in the post-competition phase, we need to take some time. We need to pull back on training volume, but we really need to make sure calories, specifically certain macronutrients, carbs, and fats, are adequate, right? And that can be a relatively short phase, but we have to take care and ensure that we properly treat that time. So moving beyond post-competition, that's when we move into strength and skill acquisition. Now, we all have different goals as athletes, and some of us need to be stronger, some of us need to be more gymnastic, some of us need to, there's all sorts of things that we all need. But this is the time where, depending on what your goals are, we can focus on body composition. And what I've found is that really strong athletes that need to be more gymnastic are the ones kind of focusing on body composition because perhaps they're a little bigger. Great, we can sacrifice a little bit of that strength. We can get you in a calorie deficit, and we can get that body comp looking a little bit better. But regardless, you shouldn't be doing a ton of training volume at this time that's massively CNS stimulating. So your ability to recover is going to be higher, so we can give you a little bit lower calorie intake. So this 12, 14, 16, for some people 20-week phase is where we can prioritize body body composition, but it's the only time where we should be prioritizing it. So coming out of that phase, you're going into your pre-competition phase. This is when intensity starts to ramp up, power output is emphasized, and this is when we have to start putting the calories back in to make up for that deficit that we had been in for, again, 3, 4, 5 months. Beyond that, right, what we have to do is then we have to get back into our adequate calorie phase where it's time for competition. And then you're going to repeat this cycle week in, week out, day in, day out, quarter in, quarter out, however you want to look at it in your periodized model. But these 4 phases have to consistently be repeated for you to become successful. So hopefully this brief intro into nutritional periodization, it's a much more extensive model than I feel like I can give in 5 minutes, but hopefully it's given you a little insight as to how you can have cosmetics and performance, yes, the best of both worlds, maybe not this year, maybe in a longer term approach. Hopefully it gives you a little bit of insight as to how to properly achieve it. And if there's anything else, just feel free to reach out to me.